Here on the channel, I love making blasters from games, movies, and TV shows. So today, we're gonna look at some TF2 or Team Fortress 2 blasters. Now we've already done quite a few on the channel, but today I'm gonna show you how to build this. This is the Babyface's blaster. Now I'm gonna show you how I built this, what kits I used, how I painted, cut, and what base blaster we used to build this. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Now, all the materials and blasters and 3D printed parts to use in this video will be in the description. So what got me started with this build? Well, it was this kit right here. And this is a 3D printed file set that allows you to take the X-Shot Lock blaster and convert it into the Babyface's blaster that actually takes shells and is a really complex, amazing build. I'm gonna be honest, I attempted it and it was a lot of work. I think the main reason why I didn't really want to go that route is because I just wanted to shoot regular short darts because I want to take this thing to a game and not really mess with shells and all the other hassles of dealing with that. So this version, I actually used elements of that kit along with some other 3D printed parts, which I'll also post in the description. Now, as you can see, this front end, I actually had to custom make. So I'm going to show you how I did that. And of course, I gave this whole blaster a nice little paint job. So let's head on over to the bench and get started. So starting at the front of the blaster, we start with the barrel. So this is a 1 1/4 inch PVC pipe that's inner diameter, and I got it cut down to 9 inches. Now the TF2 Babyface has some air vents in the front. I believe there's 8 holes. I'm gonna use this for spacing, and essentially what I'm gonna do is drill a pilot hole and then widen it with a bigger hole. Now for the pilot holes, now that those holes are drilled out, I'm actually gonna do the next row, which is gonna be over here. Here's where the sight is gonna go, so I want a little bit of extra room. Let's go ahead and mark them right about here. And that's gonna be another 8 of them. Now to drill those out. Now that we have all the pilot holes, we're gonna drill them out. And on to the other side. Now that we got those all done, we're gonna go ahead and deburr. I'm just gonna use a razor for this. We use a file and knock down all the stuff on the other side. And now for the next step, we are going to attach this forged sight right here. I found when attaching like a 3D printed part onto something like ABS plastic, I typically will just score it up. As you can see on this side, it's already got a lot of lines, so it pretty much has a lot of places to stick. But on the nice smooth surface over here, there isn't much of a place for it to stick. So what we do is just figure out where it's gonna be, and then so I'm gonna put an X right here. As you can see, I just have an X, and I'm just gonna sit here and score it up for a little bit. You're really just gonna make it nice and rough, so it has a lot of area to bond with. So it should look something like that. Now, let's mix up some epoxy and secure it. I like to stir that for about 30 seconds. That should be good. So we're gonna put some on the actual barrel, work it into all those scratches we just made. Then I like to also work it into the actual 3D printed part, put it into all those little layer lines. So it has lots of places to grab onto. And we simply just attach it. So that putty will cure pretty fast. So I'm gonna let that cure, and then we're gonna take this outside and paint it. And I'm not gonna show the painting process, but I will be using this Rust-Oleum. It's just a metallic paint, and I'll probably do 2 or 3 coats. After getting these holes drilled out and the barrel finished, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Let's move on to the next section. Now it's time to open up the X-Shot Lock blaster and see what we're dealing with. Now once we got the blaster open, we can see that it's a pretty simple design. It's got a turret system, a ratcheting prime, and with these new 3D printed parts, it's easy to swap out the turret and the lever action. Now the hard part with this build was maintaining the functionality of it and using all the other new accessories and cosmetic parts. So it took a lot of planning to figure out what am I gonna cut out, what am I gonna keep, and essentially I came up with this. So I got this build down to a few essential parts. We have the front barrel part, we have the main blaster, and then we have this bottom cylinder area, and of course the stock. I figured for this build, the best way to do is just to break each part down and focus on them and then bring it all together in the end. A divide and conquer strategy. Now the trickiest part of this build was probably the turret area. I had a couple ideas in mind as to how to make this look, but in the end, I ended up just taking this bottom cover and just attaching it to this bottom rail here, making sure to keep some of the screw posts to add integrity so that when I did the final assembly, it all came together. The cylinder was very easy, just pretty much drop in place, so that was good to go. And then the main blaster area, there was quite a bit I had to cut out. I also had to remove the lock stuff, because essentially all we need this blaster to do is cycle the cylinder, prime, and fire. In addition, we had some locks on the side. I just went ahead and cut those out and pretty much set them in place and made it so you can't really push them or anything. They just are cosmetic at this point. I do like how it gives just a little bit of orange on the blaster, just to remind people that this is a toy. Now that we got all the parts figured out, it's time for the final assembly. Now I've got the new lever installed here. It's pretty easy to install. Just kind of snap it over that piece and drop it in. Up here is the cylinder, which is also very easy to install. You just push that piece in there and drop it in place. And I've pulled out all the extra locks and all the things that we don't really need for this blaster to operate. In addition, I've actually deleted the safety, so it's just cosmetic. So the first thing to do is put on this bottom cosmetic piece, which snaps into place, and then we sandwich the whole blaster together. And now to just put in some screws to hold it all in place. Now to put on this stock extension. We do this by just sliding this in here, and then we sandwich that in place. And we got a couple screws that hold this in. One on the bottom, and then we slide on this cover, which locks everything in place. And lastly, let's install the barrel. Just slide this on, and we got 2 screws on each side. And there you have it. It's the TF2 Babyface's blaster, and I think this thing is super cool. So the next thing to do is check this blaster out. So let's go ahead and get some chronograph readings and then check the blaster's accuracy. All right, let's grab some chronograph readings, and today we'll be testing with the Worker Gen 3. 79.7, 84.6, 69.2, and 71.8. So definitely not the craziest performance, but still pretty good. Let's go ahead and shoot some targets and see how accurate this thing is. All right. Ooh, very accurate. Not bad at all. I think that's definitely acceptable. So in conclusion, what do I think about this build? I think it turned out great. Let me know in the comment section what you think. I know it's not a 1-for-1 as far as how the Babyface's blasters looks, but I think it's close enough. And with this front barrel, I think it looks even better than the other version. Well, if you got this far in the video, I want to thank you for watching. As always, be safe and happy foam flinging.